Welcome in. What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 143. Our first episode where the NBA playoffs this season have got going. It has already been an unbelievable 3 days. We are going to be lighting a damn beam shortly. The Lakers are going to win a title. The Warriors might be cooked forever. The East is wide open. It's just been a brilliant first few days of the NBA playoffs. Couldn't be more exciting. Couldn't be better. We also have a new highest paid player in the NFL. We have WWE style stomps. We have so much to get into. And at the end of today's show, we are going to talk about some real world stuff, as there was a tragedy in my hometown while I was there this past weekend, and it actually, to me, is a symptom of a far larger issue. So we will get into that at the end of the show. But before we do any of that, for people that have missed the last few episodes and they're like, hey, where's the tall, goofy guy? That's DeMonze. He's my typical co-host. He has moved to Los Angeles, sent some bizarre tweets, gone to a Dodger game, bought a car, got an apartment, started his office job at Fox. He will be back in a few months. For the next few weeks, in his stead, is his younger sister, Diorra. Diorra, you did your first show on a regular grading scale would have been a 6.5 out of 10. On a first show grading scale, you get an 8.5. Your second show was a solid 8 out of 10 on no curve. We're going to see if we can continue the upward trajectory today. Why not? I complimented you.
No,
8 out of 10 on your second show ever was great. So Diorra will be the one guiding the show shortly. But first, and don't forget, high energy, enunciate loud. Let's do this. Let's do this. What's not on today's show, not on the show today, is Triple J. Jaren Jackson Jr. winning the Defensive Player of the Year. The Texans listening to offers for the number 2 pick. And Dan Snyder is selling the Commanders, which Matt Ford, I think, called the greatest day in his life as a Washington Commanders fan. Shout out to Matt Ford for being the only Washington Commanders fan I know. Good for him. Now, to the Matt Ford, by the way, is our fearless leader. Our fearless leader used to be a guy, what was his... Gabe got something. I'm not sure. He doesn't really come around that often anymore. Theoretically, he's the boss, but Matt Ford has taken over for him, succession style, forced him out. All right, Diorra, what are we doing to start the show today? Actually, I know what we're starting with today, but you go ahead and tell the audience.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So let's start with the game from late last night.
Yeah.
Kings-Warriors.
Yeah.
In 2 great games, the Kings outplayed the Warriors down the stretch and lit the beam. And in game 2, Draymond showed how rattled Golden State was, getting ejected for a WWE-style stomp.
Okay, first of all, great energy. Great job. Second of all, look at the beam. Look at the beam that they're putting. This is why you should watch on YouTube for these added elements. All right, go ahead and ask the question.
Will this young team be the one to end the Warriors' old man dynasty?
Okay. The answer is yes. And that's big picture. That's macro. Let's go micro. How is this happening? Why are the Kings up 2-0? Well, and this is where, I'm sorry, but I've got to throw some shade, if I may.
Throw some shade.
Oh, you didn't like me using that term?
No, I wasn't
All
a
right.
fan.
I got to throw a little shade at I think basketball podcasters actually do a really good job of watching the entire league. I don't know that many sports TV folks, such as myself, I don't know how many of them were actually watching the Kings this year. I know I was, and I know that's why I picked the Kings to win the series. That's why I said the idea that playing the Kings in round 1 is some grand prize. Now, is it better than playing the Suns in round 1? I did believe that. But the idea that the Kings were just going to be walked all over, you hadn't watched them. This offense is undeniably, historically great. You then add to the fact that De'Aaron Fox this year was the most clutch player in the sport by a couple standard deviations, but massively leading the rest of the sport in clutch points, field goal, all of it. You then add to the fact that for this particular matchup, why is this matchup so bad for the Warriors? Well, a couple of reasons. One is, who coaches the Kings? Mike Brown. Where was he? Golden State. So what does he know? All the Warriors' tricks. What actions they're going to try to run. What their counters are going to be. You then add this fact. The Warriors were a historically awful road team. So the idea that the Warriors were going to fall down 0-2, a lot of people could have seen that coming. Well, Nick, is it now going to be 2-2 after 4 games? Next we're in Golden State. Maybe. However, the Kings this year, better on the road than at home because offense travels. The Kings this year, I know people always say defense travels. Great offense travels everywhere. The Kings this year, the best road team in the entire Western Conference. So, why if the Kings have all those things going for them, why were they just the 3 seed? Well, their defense was terrible. But what was terrible about their defense? Their rim protection. Guess what the Warriors don't do? Attack the basket. All those reasons, this is a terrible matchup for Golden State. The Kings can shoot with them. That's how they won game 1. And they won game 2 by locking in defensively, forcing some tough shots, and then once again, both of these games were tied with a few minutes left, and in both of these games, the Kings out-executed Golden State down the stretch. So, that's the big picture, macro. Now, we get smaller. Draymond yesterday. So, Draymond can't help himself. And his explanation after the game did not help his cause. When he's like, well, what do you want? He didn't say it was an accident. I slipped. I was just trying to get... He said, what do you want me to do? They keep grabbing me. Which, coming from Draymond, is rich, considering in game 1, we saw him lay on Domantas Sabonis to try to get the Warriors a fast break. The idea that because Sabonis was holding his ankle, you can stomp him like that is an absurdity. And Draymond might have cost them that game. He got a flagrant 2 and then was ejected. Do they win if he plays? I don't know. But they have a better chance if he plays because they don't trust Kuminga. They don't trust Poole. Looney was in foul trouble. So that then leads to some really good questions, long-term and short-term, about Draymond. So go ahead, Diorra.
What do you think this means for his future?
Well, he might be suspended for game 3. I believe what he did is suspendable. I don't think, given his history, he can get any benefit of the doubt. And I know they might say, well, we threw him out of game 2, so do we really need to suspend him? I think an intentional, full-force stomp on a player's chest is a suspendable offense. So that's the short-term future. The long-term future is, and I said this 2 weeks ago, but nobody wanted to listen, and now, and I guess I should take this as a compliment, but I don't. When I say things on TV and on this podcast, and then a week, 10 days, 2 weeks later, I turn on the competing sports television network and I see what I said is their topic, but with like, hey, could this be Draymond's last series with the Warriors? Of course it could be. I think it will be. He has a player option after this year. I believe if he opts in, then obviously he's got another year with him. But I think he's going to opt out and ask for a new deal. And I do not think Golden State's going to give it to him. The year can't start with Draymond sucker punching a teammate and then come close to ending with him being thrown out of a playoff game for a cheap shot. And all throughout the middle, the team's mediocre because they can't win road games, because they can't defend, because their emotional leader, Draymond, has lost his authority to lead because he sucker punched a teammate, and he's not as effective defensively as he once was, and then say, yeah, that's a guy I want to give $100 million to into his mid to late 30s. Not going to happen. So the Warriors, as we know them, are, I believe, in their final days. Steph will be there. Clay will be there. Wiggins will be there. Poole, even if they don't want him there, is going to be there. But that core, Steph, Clay, Draymond, they went to 6 finals. They won 4 titles. I think they have about 10 days left together. And I think we're going to see the final game that they play together. It's going to happen in Northern California, either in their arena or in the Kings arena here in the next 10, 12 days. And it's going to be one of the major storylines of the summer. You have one more follow-up I see in the rundown. Go ahead.
Do you think the Kings are the Jags of the NBA?
For me, it is a very interesting thing. They're not my favorite team, but I do actually respect them the way the rest of the media refuse to. Also, similarly, I picked the Jags, who were the home team in round 1 of the playoffs, the home underdog to beat the Chargers. They did that. But then I said their story was going to end because the next round they were playing my team, the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kings are the home team playing, but they're the underdogs playing the Warriors. I picked them, but the next round they're playing my team for the time being, the Lakers, and I will pick against them there. So there's a lot of similarities.
So yes or no?
For me, kind of. The Kings have a beam, the Jags have a prince, and light the damn beam. Look at that beam, Diorra. Look at it. And the beam we have in studio on television today is going to be glorious. I guess there are some similarities there as well. For the Jags, I brought in the trumpeters. For the Kings, we bought an industrial-sized beam. It's great. All right, Diorra, I almost messed up there. Let's go to the next topic and keep up this great energy. You are doing excellent. This is how you get a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10.
Quiet.
Took DeMonte months to get a 9 out of 10. Next.
Okay. So the Lakers star duo of Austin Reeves and Rui
Hachimura. Okay, that's their star duo. I get it. Okay, go ahead.
Looked incredible on Sunday.
Yeah.
And with the Grizzlies down 3 starters, could LeBron actually advance? Or are you already planning a parade? Because, you're always on the LeBron side. Or do you realize that it's just game 1?
Well, it is just game 1, but do I think that everything is coming up LeBron right now? Yeah.
But do you always think things are always coming up?
No, not
LeBron?
always. More often than not, yes, and more often than not, I'm correct. I mean, the guy went to 8 straight finals, 9 finals in 10 years, won 4 titles in a 9-year stretch. It was pretty good. I mean, it's pretty good. When the years he didn't win the 1 year he didn't make the finals, he got hurt. Then 2 of those finals losses came against the greatest, inarguably the greatest offensive team ever, the Warriors, when they added Kevin Durant. But let's talk about the here and now. This couldn't be breaking better for the Lakers.
Oh, gosh.
Just couldn't be. No, it just couldn't be. The Suns, you're seeing their lack of depth and chemistry already. The Warriors, who a lot of people thought were scary, are down 0-2. The Kings, who I respect, but what did I say was the Kings' biggest issue? Rim defense, interior defense. The Lakers have Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And then you have the Grizzlies, who now Ja Morant looks like he broke a few fingers. He might be out for game 2. The Lakers already...
You think he'll only be out for game 2?
I'm not sure, but I think he will be out for game 2, and we'll see if they try to do a wrap or whatever. But it's on his shooting hand, so even if he plays, he's going to be less effective. They were already down 2 of their bigs, and they just won a game getting a, by his standards, C Yeah, call it a C-level game from LeBron James. The old LeBron feel-out game. Not going to do too much, try to get shots for other people, see what the defense is trying to do. When the LeBron teams win game one of a series, they're 27-2 in those series, and they just won game one. And Ja might be out for game two, and they could not only steal home court, but they could go up 2-0 on the road on Memphis tomorrow. Yeah, and then I believe you're going to get a Kings team that is coming off, the greatest moment in the franchise in 20-some years. Maybe a bit of an emotional letdown. It's a tough matchup for the Kings against the Lakers. Yeah, right now, I feel like the Lakers are the favorites in the West. And then out east.
Or like your favorite in the East.
In the West, you mean. But maybe.
We're in the East, though.
We are. Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, we are in the East. And then out east, Giannis is banged up. Harden, unfortunately, is looking like playoff Harden. Now, the Celtics are looming. But I'll tell you right now, man, the idea of a Lakers-Celtics NBA Finals, oh, my goodness. Old rivals.
My goodness.
It'd be unbelievable. So, yeah, I do think everything's coming up. Lakers, yeah, I'm planning the parade. And if they could make quick work of Memphis and get some rest going into round two, oh my gosh. The whole league was put on notice by the fact that LeBron was in third gear that entire game and the Lakers won going away. That is a scary sign for everybody. All right, next.
Okay. While the Kings were enjoying their first playoff win in 17 years, you did some digging. Steph had a chance in the final minute for the Warriors in Game 1, but missed again.
Mm-hmm.
Then had some bricks in Game 3.
Game 2. Yeah, that's not your fault. It says Game 3, but it should say Game 2.
Oh,
Go
Game
ahead.
2. You did some research to see just how bad Steph is in the clutch. What did you find?
Well, so this is actually not really an indictment on Steph. Steph has not been great at the most clutch playoff shots in his career. But I was doing this research to see how Steph ranked, and then the same thing kept popping up. And so I think you guys can throw on the screen whatever tweet, the first tweet of mine that you have, and we can discuss it. Because, so this was the first one. I wrote, after Saturday, Steph is now 3 of 13 on game-tying or go-ahead threes in the final minute playoff games. Here's the full list of guys who have taken 10 such shots. So this is, the data only goes back to 96, 97. And everyone who's taken, there's only 10 guys who have taken, again, the scenario here was 3-pointers attempted to tie or take the lead in the final minute of playoff games. Ray Allen was 10 of 16, which is an absurdity. Damian Lillard's 5 of 10, which is great. And then you have Russ, who's 1 of 14, not surprising. Durant, 3 of 16. Steph, 3 of 13. But what jumped out to me was the late, great Kobe Bryant, who everyone who argues Kobe should be in the GOAT conversation. Kobe's better than LeBron. The number one thing they go to is killer in the clutch. Who do you want taking a shot? And over the last 26 years, the only person worse at game-tying or go-ahead threes in the last minute of playoff games than Kobe Bryant was Russell Westbrook. Kobe, 3 of 17. And that then brought me to my next tweet, which was, again, same time frame, last 27 years, as far back as I have the data, all shots, not just threes, in the final minute of playoff games to tie or take the lead. Harden, worst of there's 22 players that qualify. On our screen right now, it actually cuts off the number one guy, which is Ray Allen. He's the only guy above 50%. He's at 52%. But let me go into this for a moment, because James Harden, the worst, 2 of 17. That tracks with what you remember. Russell Westbrook, second worst, 3 of 24. Again, this is playoff games. Tie or take the lead, final minute, all shots. And then the second best, 21 of 44, is LeBron. And the 8th worst, 12 of 44, is Kobe Bryant. Michael Jordan, and to be fair to Michael, this is just the last couple years of his career, is on there at 5 of 13. But that right there is a jarring stat that I put on television yesterday, and Kevin Wildes, I don't know if he was joking or not, said, I reject it. Which is, Kobe played 20 years. LeBron has played 20 years. The universally accepted narrative is Kobe was a fearless killer who always took the shot and was as good of a clutch player ever. LeBron, this is one of the universally accepted narrative. LeBron, this is one of his weaknesses. He looks to pass. He doesn't take those shots, and he's not good at them. Yet, they both have played. Kobe played 20. LeBron is in the midst of year 20. Amazingly, shots in playoff games. Put that tweet back up if you would, please, and then we'll go to the next one. Shots in playoff games to tie or take the lead in the final minute. They both took the exact same number, 44 in a 20-year career. Kobe made 12. That's 27%. LeBron made 21. That's 47%. Almost double. Second best percentage of anyone in basketball, only to Ray Allen.
You seem really passionate when talking about your best friend.
Okay. Well, no, I'm passionate when, listen, I do a sports talk show, and he's the greatest athlete of all time, so it does generate some passion, but I'm also passionate in debunking myths. So again, exact same number of attempts in their career. Kobe was below average at them. LeBron, the second best of anyone. Go ahead.
But it's weird how two of the most clutch shots of LeBron's career were made by Ray Allen and Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, well, again, over the course of, and two of the most clutch shots of Michael Jordan's career were made by Steve Kerr and John Paxson. The producers right now are setting you up to fail because they are feeding you information to debate with me about something that is not going to work out well. Yes, I agree.
We all know you'll always be on LeBron's
Well, no, I agree. I've always thought it's unfair that LeBron's teammates are allowed to make shots. It would be much more fair for the rest of the league if it was like, hey, you're too good. Your teammates can't make shots. But then we get to the next thing, which is someone tweeted to me, closing out a game is not just about the final minute. Same list for the final 6 minutes would be far more interesting. So I give you that, which is, again, the context is the final 6 minutes. Same thing, last 27 years. Everyone that's taken at least 60 shots in the final 6 minutes of a playoff game to tie or take the lead. Once again, not good for Steph. He's better only than Russ. He's 33%. Not good for Kobe. He was 38 of 115 for 33%. And great for LeBron. Second best of everyone only to Duncan. 59 of 143 for 41%. So final 6 minutes, final half of the final quarter of playoff games, the entirety of both of their careers. Kobe has taken 115 of those. LeBron's taken 140 of them. LeBron's made more, made a higher percentage. So then someone else tweets to me, now do 5 seconds or less. So I gave 1 minute. They're like, nah, that's too small. So give 6 minutes. And it still shows Kobe below average, LeBron best or second best. So then it says, all right, give me, now let's go the other way. Final 5 seconds. So I do, okay, everyone that's taken at least 6 shots in the final 5 seconds of a playoff game to tie or take the lead. And what we see is Steph is 1 for 6. And by the way, again, if you're watching on the show, they cut it off after LeBron. The top 2 are actually Chris Middleton and Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller was 5 of 9. Chris Middleton was 3 of 6. But the numbers. Kobe, in these situations, final 5 seconds of playoff games to tie or take the lead. Took that shot 18 times. Made 4 of them. Amazingly, LeBron also has taken that shot exactly 18 times. Made 7 of them. It's a hard shot to make. Harden's 1 for 7. Russ is 1 for 6. Steph's 1 for 6. Durant hasn't even taken 6 of these. Oh, I'm sorry, no, that's wrong. Durant's 2 of 11, pardon me. But again, and this is where people just aren't able to process the facts. 5 seconds.
You're the only one who can process the facts.
Well, I think if you go tell people it's inarguable that LeBron is the most clutch player of his generation and that he is one of the most clutch players ever, while Kobe was inefficient and not effective at these shots, no one will believe you. And people say, LeBron's scared to take them. Takes the same amount as Kobe. No matter how you slice it, the same amount as more. 5 seconds, 1 minute, 6 minutes. Fourth quarter playoff games, tie or take the lead. People just don't want to hear it. It is not what they want to remember. And that then does bring me briefly to everyone watching this right now, saw the entirety of Kobe Bryant's career. Or almost everyone watching probably did. And yet I believe they probably have a hard time believing this data. Like, that's not what I remember. So let's extrapolate that. What does that mean for how we talk about Michael Jordan? When a lot of us, weren't locked into the NBA in the 80s. We didn't have League Pass. And Jordan's unbelievable. Obviously one of the 3 greatest players ever. You can make an argument for number 2. You can make an argument for number 1. But how much of the legend is what we want to remember rather than what actually happened? Because with Kobe clutch shots, it's a huge part of it. And with LeBron not being clutch, it's the entirety of it. All right, last topic. Go ahead.
Okay, yesterday Jalen Hurt agreed to a 5-year, $255 million deal.
Yeah.
This now makes him the highest paid player in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
2 questions. How does someone without a ring or MVP deserve that kind of money? And how does this affect Lamar Jackson's negotiations?
All right, I'll answer them in reverse order. Lamar, I think it would be smart for Lamar to go to the Ravens and say, I'll take that exact deal. That deal I'll take. I know he wants a fully guaranteed deal. I think that would be a smart deal to take. The argument is, well, he's been to a Super Bowl. Lamar hasn't. Lamar's won an MVP. He hasn't. Lamar actually has finished his contract out, so he has a little more leverage. Jalen had a year left, so he has a little less leverage. That deal would be a great deal for Lamar. I don't know if he's going to do that. Joe Burrow's got to be thrilled. Burrow's going to get more than Jalen. They've both been to a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow's had 2 good years. Jalen's only had 1. Justin Herbert's probably like, okay, I might not get quite that much, but I'm going to be at 50 probably. The other person or people who should be thrilled by this are Chiefs fans, because the price of the brick is going up, as Marlo Stanfield would say, and Mahomes is stable at $45 million a year. So right now, Mahomes is the 5th highest paid quarterback in football.
You don't think he should be the most paid?
Well, of course he should be, but it's in a salary cap sport where you only have so many dollars to spend, it's a huge advantage for the team that he isn't, for the Chiefs' ability to win Super Bowls. And that's my point. He's the best player in the league by a mile. He's the 5th highest paid quarterback. Burrow's about to get a new deal. Herbert's about to get a new deal. Lamar might get a new deal. That means when this season starts, Patrick Mahomes is going to be either the 7th or 8th highest paid quarterback. Right now, and this is a jarring fact, there is a bigger gap in annual salary between Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts than there is an annual salary between Patrick Mahomes and Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones makes $5 million a year less than Mahomes. Mahomes makes $6 million a year less than Hurts. Talk about planning parades. playing the dynasty in Kansas City. You have the greatest player ever, and he's on a massive bargain. I fix the NBA's charge epidemic, and we talk Suns Clippers. That's next. Then we talk some real life in the C block. That's also coming up. What's right? Welcome back in What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 143. Before we get into Suns Clippers and a game and a bunch of stuff, some absolutely unbelievable news that just broke. DeMar Hamlin, yes, that DeMar Hamlin has been cleared for all football activities and is returning to the team today. So a young man whose heart stopped on the field was given CPR and resuscitated on the football field in late December. We are now in April, and he can resume his career. That is just fantastic news, an amazing story, and that is great. That is as cool as it gets. And you've got to be so happy for him, for his family, for the Bills, for everybody. And those trainers on the field saved his life. It's a really, really cool, wonderful story. So that's really, really great. All right, Diorra, let's get back to the NBA playoffs. Go right ahead.
Okay, the Suns-Clippers game 2 is tonight.
Yeah.
KD has now lost 7 straight playoff games.
You were at his last win.
Really?
Yeah, that's the last playoff
That's
game
insane.
he won. Yeah, which was Nets Bucks game 5. He played all 48 minutes, scored 48 points, had 17 rebounds, 10 assists. Steve Nash gave him a bear hug at the end of that. They went up 3-2. They then lost game 6, lost game 7. Last year, they played the Celtics in round 1. They lost 4-0, and then they lost this one. That's 7 straight and 9 of 10 playoff losses for him. But go ahead.
In game 1, Westbrook shot 3 of 19, but somehow was the Clippers' hero. Would KD losing in round 1 again with another super team be a legacy killer?
All right, I don't consider this quite a super team. And KD, no matter what he does, is one of the, at worst, 16 greatest players ever already. Okay? At worst. But going out in the tail end of your prime, back-to-back years in round 1 would not be good. Last year, he didn't play well in that series. It was his worst playoff series of his career. But you didn't really blame him, pardon me, overall, because Kyrie submarined that season with the Vax stuff. And then the Harden trade happened, and they just felt snake-bitten. This year, the Nets were playing well. He demanded a trade. He gets to the exact team he wanted to get to, and they're playing a Clippers team that is without its second-best player. If he were to lose this series, that is devastating. All of a sudden, you start talking about at their peak, who would you rather have, Kawhi or KD? It would be an unbelievable turn in the Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, saga. I do not believe the Suns can lose this series. I think it's almost impossible. I think that Russ, while he was brilliant aside from the 3 of 19 in game 1, is not going to be able to duplicate that. And I do think that Durant's got to be more assertive offensively. He just has to. You can't play 45 minutes and take 15 shots. But I don't think the Clippers can beat the Suns 4 times in 7 games. What I do think is this. That game showed you why I don't think this Suns team can win the title. Chris Paul is in a totally different phase of his career. I don't trust Ayton. And the Suns bench is non-existent. Their bench players played 53 minutes total. That's not a lot, by the way. 53 minutes off your bench in game 1. In those 53 minutes, they were combined 3 of 12 from the field, had like 2 assists. So you only have 240 minutes total to go around. 48-minute game, 5 players on the court at all times, 5 times 48 is 240. So 53 of your 240 minutes were taken up by guys who contributed nothing. That's not a recipe to win. Just not. Now, is it a recipe? Can they get through round 1 with it? Yeah. But Denver might be able to give them real trouble, and you bet your ass the Lakers, if they're healthy as deep as they are, can give them real trouble. So yes, losing in round 1 would make the post-Warriors part of Kevin Durant's career bizarre. It would have been a year missed with an injury, then going up 2-0 and 3-2 on Milwaukee and losing that series, then swept in round 1, then demanding a trade and losing in round 1. It wouldn't kill his legacy, obviously wouldn't help it, but I don't think that's going to happen. All right, next.
We sadly saw a lot of injuries over the first weekend of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Both Giannis and Ja took hard falls after defenders were trying to draw charges.
Yep.
Sabonis took a hit going for one last night against Steph too. It's time for Nick Makes It Right.
Yeah.
How would you fix this?
You just got to ban weak side charges. It's very simple.
You've been on the banning stuff lately.
Yes, I have been, but I've been on banning weak side charges for 5 years. Guys, weak side charges were popularized by unathletic college basketball players as a way to try to even the score, essentially, with high-flying great athletes. They run over there and get beneath them. It's the most dangerous play in the sport. We changed the way you're allowed to close out shooters because Zaza put his foot beneath Kawhi. I'm not banning all charges. If you are guarding someone head up and he goes through your chest, that's a charge. If someone pushes off, that's a charge. But if someone beats their man and is rising up for a dunk or a layup, and you're guarding someone else, and you run over and get stationary just so he can run into you while he's in the air and you're on the ground, it's an obviously dangerous play. Well, Nick, what would you have defenders do? Contest the shot. Meet him at the apex. Go up. Jump with him. Now, are we worried that that's tilting the scales too far towards the offense? Sure. Then maybe adjust a bit how much contact you allow in the defender's favor if they go up for a block. Maybe don't call. Maybe soften what is and what is not a foul if you're contesting a shot. But it is an obviously dangerous play that I feel like unathletic college basketball players made their careers on, and then it poisoned the NBA over the last 15 years. You can't have Ja Morant, because this is what Anthony Davis did was smart, but it's insane. Anthony Davis is 6'10", the best defender in the sport some nights, right? Ja Morant is 6'3". Ja Morant goes up for a dunk. Anthony Davis can jump with him and try to block it. Instead, he stands there, so Ja falls into him. Now Ja's 5 feet off the ground, falling straight down. And he did, and he broke his fingers, it looks like. Giannis, similar situation. He goes up, someone undercuts him, he falls and bruises his tailbone. Don't incentivize that level of dangerous play. It's that simple. Ban the weak side charge. All right, what game are we playing?
We're playing all in or fold.
Yeah.
So, first one. Knicks fans were devastated to miss out on Donovan Mitchell, but Jalen Brunson has them looking primed to beat the Cavs in round 1. All in or fold. The Knicks are better off with Brunson than Mitchell.
I'm going to fold that. I still believe the Cavs are going to win the series. However, this is not an easy of a fold as it was 6 months ago, because Jalen has been exceptional. Now, Donovan's been actually even better as a Cav than he ever was as a Utah Jazz. Donovan is still, I think, pretty clear-cut the better of the two players. However, if Jalen Brunson continues on this upward trajectory, if the question is, would you rather have Jalen Brunson, who you signed in free agency, and therefore didn't trade anything, any of your young players or your picks, or have Donovan Mitchell, but have traded away all of those assets? That is becoming a real debate. If Jalen can give you 80% of what Donovan can give you, but you keep all those assets to then trade for a different star, that might work out well for the Knicks. Okay. So I don't think Jalen's as good of a player as Donovan. I don't think anybody does. But he's played well enough that it's close-ish enough, and those young players have developed, most notably DeMonte's former Summer League teammate Quentin Grimes. It's unbelievable. This kid that DeMonte played with for Basketball University, who's 2 years younger than DeMonte, is now one of the key contributors for the Knicks. Emmanuel quickly. RJ hasn't developed, obviously, the way you would have hoped. But still, that does become a real debate. And credit to the Knicks, who I probably have slightly underrated throughout the year. Maybe I still am, because I think they're going to lose to the Cavs. But that's a great opening playoff win. Next.
Okay. So we mentioned Giannis's back injury, but come on. Milwaukee is stacked without him. Mm-hmm. There's no excuse that they dropped Game 1 to an 8 seed at home. Mm-hmm. All in or fold. The Bucks win 4-1.
I don't think they're going to win 4-1. I think they're going to win 4-2. So I'm going to fold on that. Listen, I respect Miami. I've been saying this. I was saying it all the end of the regular season when it looked like Miami was going to play Boston. Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the NBA. Jimmy Butler is like the 24th best player in the league in the regular season and like the 11th best player in the league in the playoffs. He gets better in the playoffs. They're a real team. And Bam can present some problems for Giannis when he's healthy, let alone when he's coming off an injury. So I respect the Heat. The Heat went to the finals 3 years ago. They were the number 1 seed last year in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. I respect them. But with Tyler Hero breaking his hand and some of the things they're going to have to deal with, they can't beat the Bucks. But they're a tough round 1 matchup. All right, next.
Okay, the 76ers are cruising. But James Harden only had 8 points in 38 minutes Monday. Yeah. That's rough.
Yeah, it's not great.
So all in or fold, playoff Harden has returned.
It doesn't look great. And this is my pick to come out of the East, and Embiid's been spectacular in both of these games. And the way he read what the defense was doing last night and passed the open man and was great he was just great. And I know Harden's dealing with this Achilles, but this is a rough spot right now for Philly. And they don't need Harden to be MVP level Harden. But in order to beat the Celtics, he's got to get right quickly. And that is a legitimate concern right now. All right.
I think that was like the first time we were less than
a minute over.
More than a minute.
Oh yeah, first time we were less than 10 minutes over probably. That's because I deleted 2 of the questions. Remember, we were gonna have 2 more. I knew we weren't gonna be able to hit it. Okay. So we're gonna talk some real life stuff. There was a tragedy in my hometown. There was a tragedy in upstate New York. There was a miscarriage of justice happening right now in Texas, and they're all related. And we're going to talk about all of it. And if you don't want to hear that, join us on Thursday. If you do want to hear that, I think it'll be the best part of the podcast. We're going to do that next. Take a very quick break. Come right back. What's right? All right, welcome back in. Episode 143, What's Right with Nick Wright. So, Thursday, I landed in Kansas City for me and my wife's 10-year anniversary, and we were there all weekend. And by Saturday, people in the city were talking to me saying, oh, man, it's about to get real bad here. We have a Trayvon situation. And I was like, people were already talking about in the city. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they said, people were giving me different details or whatever, but we now know exactly what happened. And what we're going to talk about here is not actually just about Ralph Yarl. the young man who was shot and miraculously is alive in Kansas City, because there was yesterday now, or day before yesterday, a similar tragedy in New York. And this is, well, just stay tuned for it. We're going to try to thread this needle. So if people know what happened in Kansas City, what happened in Kansas City is very simple. Young man, 16-year-old black kid named Ralph Yarl, was sent by his mom to go pick up his twin little brothers. He thought he was going to 115th Street. They were on 115th Terrace, or vice versa. He pulls into the driveway, rings the doorbell, and this is not just his family story. This is now according to the Kansas City police. Go ahead, Diorra. Did you want to say something?
No, I was...
So rings the doorbell, and an 84-year-old white man comes to the door, and within seconds shoots him twice. Once in the head.
Through the door.
Glass door. Opens one door, sees him, has his gun, shoots him twice. Once in the head. Bullet fragments lodged above his eye. His mom said this morning to Gayle King they were in his brain, but she said frontal lobe, but he's also home now. And
said it hit his frontal lobe. And then he was shot again in his shoulder.
And then he was shot in the shoulder. Amazingly, he survived. Now, his mom made it very clear he's home, but he has medical professionals all around him.
Yeah, she was like, the only reason he's home is because the whole
she's a nurse. They have families that are doctors. They wanted to get him home, but he is talking. He's talking, and President Biden called him. And so this, and then the reason they're, so again, let me give the very short version of it. 16-year-old kid is supposed to go to 1100 115th Terrace, goes to 1100 115th Street, rings the doorbell. 84-year-old white man comes to the door, sees him, shoots him twice.
He had the gun, though, before he even got to the door.
Of course.
Because he knew.
Of course. And the kid lived. The man called the cops. Cops brought him in, questioned him, and said, all right, well, according to the KCPD, they claim we can't do anything until we get a victim statement. It's not my experience at all, but fine, and let him go. There then was massive community outrage before it became a national story. By Sunday, there were protests in front of the House. They then charged the man, the 84-year-old, with first-degree assault, armed criminal action. And, however, what the national media thus far has gotten wrong on this story is he has not been arrested. He has been charged. So either they can't find him, or they are waiting for him to turn himself in. But as of this moment, this man who shot this 16-year-old child for ringing his doorbell, that's not fair. He shot this 16-year-old child for ringing his doorbell while being black, has not been incarcerated. I don't know if he's on the run. I don't know if the cops just haven't managed to...
Probably can't run far.
Right, if the cops just haven't managed to get over to him. But that's what's happened, but he has been charged. I assume he'll be found, and I assume he'll go to trial. Now, his defense is I was scared. Okay? Go ahead, Diorra.
The question is, what is the reason to be scared? When this kid, like, he's 16 years old. He's younger than I am. Mm-hmm. And I've seen pictures. He's smaller than I am. And
I don't know if that part. I'm not sure if that's true. I actually think he's a tall kid, but that doesn't matter at all.
No, but I'm saying he doesn't even look like a threat whatsoever. And the only reason he even slightly looks like a threat is because he's a black boy.
Obviously. I don't mean that patronizing to you. I'm saying that clearly. And the only reason this man was not instantly arrested is because he was an old white man who shot a young black boy.
He didn't know what he was doing.
He didn't. And if you want to say this is more about his age than his race, maybe. My experience with certain parts of the Kansas City Police Department lead me to feel differently. But set that aside. He got preferential treatment due to the fact of the demographics of who he was and the demographics of who was shot. We know that. And we also know, I want to be totally accurate here. I feel very confident that if every part of this story is the same, but that is a white 16-year-old rings his doorbell, he does not shoot him in the head and then in the shoulder before asking a question. You can say, Nick, you can't prove it. I can't prove it. I know it. That one is very black and white, no pun intended. It's clear what happened there. And anybody that is listening to this right now and feels like anything I've said is controversial, if anything that I've said up to this point makes you angry enough to where you want to turn off the podcast, I would appreciate if you do exactly that and never turn it back on. Because now we have something that happened in upstate New York that removes the racial part of it and is somehow just as, actually in this case you could argue, I don't want to say more tragic, but a different type of tragic. This girl lost her life. So in upstate New York, Caitlin Gillis, who's 20 years old, was on a rural road with friends of hers looking for another friend's house. From the news reports there, the rural area they were in are those long driveways where you have to basically go deep into the driveway before you get to the house. They drive their car down the driveway, and nobody even gets out. They see, oh, we're at the wrong house. Start to turn around. The 65-year-old homeowner comes out and shoots twice into the car. No one has gotten out of the car. Shoots twice into the car. This young girl's dead. Dead.
She was the driver? No,
she was in the passenger seat, is at least what the reports were. Because they then drove 6 miles up the road. They're in the middle of nowhere. They had to drive far away to get help. They couldn't even call 911 for 6 miles because they had no phone service. Cops went to him. There was a standoff. They arrested him immediately. You also had just recently. And go ahead, Diorra.
And in like half of these cases, it's not even the problem is the race or the other person. It's the guns that's the problem.
Well, it's one other problem. How scared everyone is when they should not be, which is what I'm going to try to tie this all together with. The guns, obviously, without the guns, this doesn't happen. But not only is that horse out of the barn, that horse has left the barn, had 300 million baby horses, and they're all across the country. We got more guns than people. We are just fucked on that front. No fixing it. None. Now, we could do certain things to prevent mass shootings. An assault rifles ban, which is such a crazy liberal idea. Ronald Reagan and George W. Bush were in favor of it back in a saner time of America. There's certain things we could do for mass shootings, but the individual handgun ain't going anywhere. Anywhere. So we have the most armed society ever, and everyone's afraid. More on the fear in a moment. Last week, Walgreens, Tennessee. It's a woman who is 7 months pregnant. That means very visibly pregnant. With a friend allegedly shoplifting. She and the friend leave the store, start putting, again, allegedly, what they stole into the trunk. The 21-year-old manager follows them out and confronts them. One of them maces him. He shoots the pregnant woman multiple times.
Was the pregnant woman even the one who maced him?
I'm not sure. Here's what I do know. A lot of people hear that story and say, I got no problem with that. You were stealing and you maced a guy.
One thing that's not the manager's responsibility whatsoever.
Yeah. And the other thing is this.
You're not even allowed to follow shoplifters out of the store.
Of course. And if you follow a shoplifter out of the store while carrying a pistol, my guess is you're doing it because you might want to shoot somebody. And here's the other thing. For the folks that are on the she was committing a crime, so anything that happens is fair game. The penalty for shoplifting in this country is not
death.
Being shot in the street. The penalty, by the way, for macing somebody when they confront you is not being shot in the street.
And also, I'm sure the other person, I can't be sure, but I'm pretty sure the person wouldn't have maced the manager if they didn't see the person had a gun.
Well, of course. But that guy, much like Andrew Lest in Kansas City, who shot Ralph Yarl, saying, stand your ground. Stand your ground. So, now we go to Texas. And I promise I'm going to wrap all these together. We go to Texas. Daniel Perry, a few months back, sees these Black Lives Matter protesters and hates them. Goes on Facebook, calls them monkeys. Texts his friends, saying, I might kill a protester on my way to work today. Texts another friend, says, I'm going to drive my car right into these protesters. Gets in his car, drives to where the protests are. There's a man in the protest carrying an AK-47. Now, I think that is insane. But in Texas, totally legal. Allowed.
Most things are illegal.
Daniel Perry, after telling his friends, I'm going to kill a protester, and calling the protesters monkeys, initiates a confrontation with this protester, shoots and kills him.
With his gun or the AK-47?
With his own gun, with the gun he brought.
Got it.
In order to commit this premeditated murder. A jury of his peers heard that case and said, yeah, you're guilty. You're going to jail. Within 6 hours of that, the governor of Texas said, as soon as I can, I'm pardoning him. He committed no crime. He was standing his ground.
What ground was he standing?
Well, that brings us to another issue, and I know we have a lot of issues in the air now, but one other story. A couple weeks back, San Francisco, the founder of Cash App is tragically stabbed in San Francisco. The media universally uses it as an instance to discuss the out-of-control crime in San Francisco. Dangerous liberal hellscape. A lot of poor people, a lot of homeless people. To where now, millionaire tech founders can't walk down the street without being brutally stabbed to death. Problem with that story is, 3 days later, we found out he was stabbed to death allegedly by another tech executive in a dispute about one of their sisters. So why do I bring that story up? Because we now have created the perfect storm for these instances of violence. So, the first ingredient is the guns. As armed as any society has ever been. The second ingredient is the fear. New York City, San Francisco, two of the safest big cities in the world. But we got a lot of poor people, got a lot of minorities, got a lot of, San Francisco in particular, people that are strung out on drugs. Danger, fear, be afraid. You don't know what's happening. You don't know. I know and people right now listening saying, Nick, crime's out of control. Is crime in a lot of big cities up over the last couple years? Yes. Is crime in almost every big city in the country down 30, 40, 70% over where it was in the 80s and 90s? Yes, of course, but that doesn't matter. Be afraid. Be on edge. Be armed. That's the second ingredient.
Everyone's thing is always if you weren't armed, that's on you.
Correct. And third ingredient, a shocking dedication by lawmakers across the country into trying to reinvent the Old West with these stand your ground laws, which have moved us to a place of, if at any time I feel any amount of fear, I can respond with deadly force. Don't have to be a cop. Don't have to really be in danger. And in fact, as the Texas case can show you, I can start the confrontation, which, if you take these to their furthest logical conclusion, gives you the authority to murder anyone. If I want to murder you, all I have to do is bring my gun and bait you into hitting me. All I have to do is go to where you are, spit in your face, call you a name, shove you, and then let you get the best of me in the beginning of a fight. And be white. Of course, and be white. Of course, and be white. Because that's the last ingredient I was going to bring in. But all I got to do, if what the guy, Daniel Perry in Texas, if he were to be pardoned, he told his friends, I'm going to go kill some people. He went to where they were.
They have so
he
much
started,
evidence.
which is why he was convicted. He started the confrontation. And then immediately shot this old white man in Kansas City. There was no confrontation. But he's scared because his black kid shoots through the door. The old white man in upstate New York doesn't even see who's in the car. But he's scared. You're on my property. It's goddamn Yellowstone evidently out here. And I'm going to shoot you. You brought up the and be white part of it. Of course, in some, but not all of these, there is, and this is where, again, I'll bring the media's culpability into it, the media preaching fear of the other. So people are on edge. They're misled about crime rates. They have all these guns, and they have reason to believe some people don't shoot people because they don't want to. Some people don't shoot people because they're afraid of the consequences. But now we remove some of those consequences. All you got to do is say you're afraid. And all of a sudden, someone rings your doorbell, fuck you. Someone comes into your driveway, shoots you from 20 meters out. Someone steals from a multi-billion-dollar corporation a visibly pregnant woman. I'm going out there carrying my pistol. This is the moment I've been waiting for. None of us can be surprised where we're at. None of us. And, God dog it, I probably irrationally yelled at my daughter this weekend because all of this affects us all, and all of it drags us down and puts us more on edge and affects our quality of life in so many different ways. And the reason I yelled at Diorra ostensibly for being late to work and having a dead phone, but the real reason I was yelling at her was because when her phone dies, I can't see her, it doesn't show me her location, and I knew she was traveling through the city. And just seeing that I'm in Kansas City, she's in New York, and last location was 40 minutes ago outside of Morningside Park. And it's goddamn terrifying. And is it heightened because you're a black woman? Yes. But would I be scared no matter what? That Caitlin Gillis girl was with her friends going to a friend's house. The homeowner shot her. Killed her. Ralph Yarl was I don't know if it was clarinet, was some saxophone, whatever instrument he played, a great musician from seemingly an amazing family, just listening to his mom. Ralph Yarl's mom, Ralph Yarl was shot twice, would talk to the president yesterday, is a seemingly perfect student. He's asked by Gayle King this morning about she's asked about her son, and she's basically like, aside from the fact that he stinks at English, he's a great kid. Like, she was such a lovely mother-daughter moment. You could just tell the type of mom she was. She was like, we just argue about English. He doesn't like doing his English homework. It's like, lady, it's not what we're talking about here. He was going to go pick up his twin siblings and got shot. And I know that, you know, we're really, really concerned right now about protecting kids. We are. Grooming has become the biggest threat in the world. Drag queens, big threat. The number one cause of death of children in this country, for the first time ever, is not cancer, is not heart disease, is not car accidents. It's guns. Of children, the number one cause of death is guns. And so, yeah, what happened in my hometown, of course, race is wrapped in every bit of it. But the easy off-ramp of that story is old racist man shoots young black boy. Police force, in the beginning, seemingly might let him get away with it. Community outrage, now charged, hopefully soon arrested. But pretending that story is not related to all these other stories and the way the media gets us scared and the way the politicians exploit it and the way we allow the worst actors amongst us to act with impunity, that misses it. And it's goddamn frustrating, man. And it's scary. Hug your family tight. Tell them you love them. And if you're a law-abiding, Second Amendment-loving gun owner, I have no quarrel with you. None. But if you are someone who is so scared of walking down the street, you can't do it without a pistol, do yourself a favor, go to your local bar this weekend, have a few drinks, make sure no one's armed, and talk a little trash to one of the bigger guys in there, and get punched in the face, and realize not the worst thing that's ever happened. Getting your ass kicked, not that bad. Sucks. Usually feel better by the next day. But if you're so goddog afraid that someone might hit you, that someone's coming to kick your door in, that someone who hasn't yet gotten out of their car on your rural driveway, if you're so afraid that you shoot first, answer questions later, and believe the state's going to be on your side because of these perverse stand your ground rules, then deal with your own issues, get some goddog courage, and put your gun away. Talk to y'all Thursday. What's right? Hey, it's Nick Wright. Thank you so much for watching. Please do us a favor. Click subscribe. It helps my ego, and DeMonte's got a financial bonus writing on a number of YouTube subscribers, so help him out. And also, click the bell. I don't know what the bell does, but they tell me to tell you to click the bell. And if you're audio listeners, people that have commutes, drives, whatever it is, subscribe to the podcast as well, wherever you get the podcast. Same show, just in your ears instead of through your eyes. All that. Check it out. Appreciate y'all.